Good to be with you this week for Take Fives again. My name's Jo. If we've not met before, good to meet you. Good to say hello. This week we are in the book of Thessalonians, 1 Thessalonians, and it's one of Paul's letters to the people of Thessalonica. And that was a city that he travelled to on one of his second missionary journeys. He went to there with Timothy and with Silas, and he visited, and he actually went for a really short period of time to there initially. I think he was only there for about a month, I've read. And it was a place he went there like he did to a lot of the cities, and he went and preached in the synagogues for 3 weeks. And actually in that place, a lot of people gave their life to Jesus and put their faith in Jesus very quickly. And it was one of the most wealthy and influential towns in Macedonia. And so actually it was one of the first places where a lot of wealthy and influential people came to Jesus. But there was a bit of trouble stirred up quite quickly soon after he planted the church there. And in fact, actually, if we look in verse 6 of chapter 1, it says, "So you received the message with joy from the Holy Spirit in spite of the severe suffering it brought you. And in this way you imitated both us and the Lord." It's interesting hearing him talking straight off the bat about the suffering that they faced. And they'd literally only just given their lives to Jesus, like a few weeks before, and yet they faced suffering. And it actually doesn't tell us in this book what that looked like or why that was. But interestingly, if you go back to Acts 17, and we're coming just the end probably of our Acts series as I'm recording this. And Acts 17 tells us the story of when Paul went to Thessalonica. And what we find out there is that some of the people really accepted his message, but others there were really threatened by, kind of Paul and his friends and their teaching. And they accused them of treason against Caesar, by saying that Jesus was a king and pledging their allegiance to Jesus as a king. And so they were kind of hounded out of that city pretty quickly. There was mobs sort of stirred up. So it was actually, this is a bit of a cheat really, but going back to Acts today, I was thinking about this severe suffering, then the persecution that these people faced. And I went back and had a look and read a little bit about the people from Thessalonica. And there's one chap in particular that stands out that's mentioned in Acts 17. And he was a guy called Jason, who was obviously Paul and Silas and Timothy's kind of host or sponsor while they were there in the city. So he, had them staying with him, and he was hauled in front of the council. And he sort of basically took the heat for all the mobs and rioting that happened as a result of Paul and Silas's teaching. And it says there that he posted bond, he paid cash, and to promise that the trouble would cease, that the trouble would stop, or he'd lose his property or even maybe his life. So, imagine you've got some preacher coming to stay with you for a bit, and the neighbourhood just takes umbrage with what's being said. You're going against, our laws or our leadership authority in this council area, and so we're going to run you out of town. And you, as the people hosting that preacher, have got to go, okay, like, we guarantee there'll be no more problems, and I'll put my house, my money, my life, my family on the line for that. That's huge, isn't it? That's like pretty much risking your reputation, your finances, your security, even your life for Jesus, for the truth, for the gospel. That's massive. So that's what these people in Thessalonica had done within just a few weeks of hearing about Jesus. They had quite a lot to lose. These were kind of wealthy, influential, they were wealthy, influential people. And it just made me think that I think often as Christians, we kind of expect that kind of pain or difficulty or persecution even is going to be like the exception rather than the rule. That you sort of think, well, why is this happening to me? Why is difficulty happening to me? Maybe Jason was thinking, why am I getting all these problems? But actually, I suppose our question should be more like, why not me? Why is it not coming to me? Because I think what happened for those people, often for Paul and certainly for the people in Thessalonica, was that the message of the gospel was on a collision course with the culture that they were living in. It really just flew in the face of everything else that everyone around them believed, and it was kind of to be expected that they would face persecution, and they took it. They took it on the chin right from the start. And that really challenged me, because I think there's a lot about the world that we're living in at the moment, the kind of cultural beliefs in the world that we're living in at the moment. And I know for me, our faith is on a collision course with that. And it challenged me to think, would I be willing, like Jason, to put everything on the line, to put my reputation on the line for the gospel? Knowing what I do now, and even if I'd only known it for 2 weeks, would I have been willing to do that? It's a challenging thought, isn't it? So yeah, I challenge you with that today. Maybe you're challenged by that as well. Have a great day, and I shall see you tomorrow for chapter 2.